All right, YouTube people, you're back. This should be the week we get this done, and that should also mean all of the uploads are in there as well. Notice where it says Heartland is a special story-focused experience designed for players who have already experienced dedicated to. It is entirely separate from the main game. That point right there is entirely separate from the main game. Something I'm going to talk about in the video of the Let's Play when we go to do it. So your friends can bring survivors from their communities into your Heartland game. So be talking about that when we get that video out, which I do hope and aim to do this week. Look who it is. It's a legend. The funny, the charming, the Regis Film and a Mixer. Something else. Something else. Thanks a lot for being here. And I see gone. Doggone gone. I see what you done did there. You know me and I know him, and it is what it is. Yo, something else. What up, man? Get that Nexus cat eye. Look at you, look at you, look at you. Please make sure you check him out. You will not regret it. In fact, you regret it if you don't. Something else. You have continued to fight the war, and you have continued to fight the resistance, and you, sir, have become Stage 41. More human than a human. Hey, we got the swine and bovine mask. Very nice. That makes things simpler for us. Thank you. I'm thankful and I'm grateful. You, sir, are our longest running sub. You are a gentleman and a scholar, and I am grateful. Thank you, something, for being you, man, for being you. Thank you very much. Do we have any upgrade kits yet? I think, didn't we get a shop early? Because I think the lady we brought in, Keisha, is a bomb making. Does that also come with auto mechanics? Mechanic skill? And do we make the thing? Someone's shooting their ass off up there. Do we make the thing that she can make? I assume she probably has a special facility just for her. Why can't we do this? Labor. We should totally 100% do that as soon as we have the labor. Probably trying to get him up to hero. I've been trying to take my time with this a little bit because this will be my last Heartland. Hey, thank you very much. We got him, yes. And something, are you? Yes, you are. You are. I kind of figured with stage 41. It's weird the bit boss thing works finally. Wilsa, you have been, the terrible Tyrus has been toppled. Something else, you are the bit boss, the bit boss, the bit boss, the bit boss. Congrats. Thank you very much again. Thank you. And congrats. Well done. That's great. Good job. Okay, let's loot. You know what? I kind of wondered if there is this stage DK2. I don't want to know where all this fancy stuff's at. What's this? This probably isn't it, is it? Oh, it is. Yo! I really should. I feel bad using the maps because it kind of goes way against. It doesn't go against my like principles or anything stupid like that, but it definitely takes out a lot of the more organic exploration that I typically do. Cool. You're welcome as always, dude. Thank you. Looks like Tacky did just fine. Well over the $1,000 in that fundraiser, so that's good news. Oh boy, we didn't play the game for a whopping 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks. Now I've got to relearn it, even though I've got like 1,000+ hours in this game at this point. And good luck catching Wilso. Wilso and his 1,000, probably 100k zombies at this point. That's gonna be a whole nother can of worms. Oh yes. Gotta love playing some of the Dead series music on here. I know what we need is a 50 cal. There's actually quite a bit we need to do today. Obviously, we want to do this mission, though. I believe this mission might be the first plague wall. Can't remember. We're going to be looting a bunch. You know, you'd think we did so much driving when we were doing the speed runs that I would have improved. It's like I managed to get worse, I think. Well, anyway, we'll be warmed up within 2 hours. We'll have it back. At this point, there should be muscle memory, you would think.
Hey there. Thanks for coming out to meet with me.
Looks like a sample. Is that not a sample? Oh. They changed the the asset for samples too. What was his med storage? Oh, one. That's fine. They're not great. I just like getting them up to hero. It's something to do.
I just need you to make a quick pickup.
Captain, yeah, we're talking main story stuff now. I just need you to make a quick pickup for me. I promise it's worth your time. Free to help.
Great. Here's the deal.
There's no point in doing the dialogue. It changes nothing.
Something I need.
He made up his asking. Yeah, I'm sure that it's just a start to get him somewhere in the meantime. We'll see, though. Yeah, for sure. I'm just glad he hit it. That's good news, right? Hopefully he can get that FEMA money, too, if that's a possibility. Yeah. Been a crazy day so far. So my local high school has a COVID case. Can't talk about it any more than that. But besides, someone got the COVID. But here's what happened. It was a person in the school who was around somebody who got COVID. So they didn't necessarily have the COVID. So and the federal guidelines were, hey, if someone gets COVID, according to CDC federal guidelines, you're supposed to shut down for a couple days. 2 days, shut down, and then deep clean the school. Of course, states and schools are just kind of doing whatever they want. Everybody's on a different plan. And so, like some schools in Ohio, this is Ohio anyways. Ohio schools are all doing like different things. Our school did full 5 days a week. Anybody could go. You had a choice, of course, you could homeschool or not. But full sports, full 5 day a week schedule. And just go off of that. And for a while, it's worked. I mean, no one has gotten sick up to this point. But so what happened was okay, we don't have the stuff to kill a blood plague jug right now. And I didn't want to do that. And it's been like, okay. But someone did get COVID. And again, I can't talk about it too much, but one of my jobs that my sister has is she contacts trace. She's a nurse at the health department, and she's in charge of the contact tracing. And of course, people are like, it's been 50-50 from the beginning. Some people are compliant, take this seriously, and then there's 50% of the people who they either think it's a hoax or they think it's being like way overdone, or they think the government's trying to take over their lives. Anyway, that's not even worth getting into. But the school decided not to shut down, which I think is pretty dumb. I think that 2 days shut down is warranted just as a precaution. I get it. We need to keep living our lives, and we can't just shut down anymore. There's no point in living if you can't live. And so I don't think the shutdown was warranted, but I do think, take some precautions. Shut down 2 days, follow the federal guidelines. They didn't, because they said, hey, it's just one kid. We'll just spot clean where they were at. Well, okay. So they spot clean where they were at. Well, predictably, one kid became at least 3. Because we all know how bad, how bad this thing spreads by being airborne. It's real pernicious, and god dang, this guy's being a douchebag. I'm not even going to try to kill him. I don't care. Mention the FEMA, and he's going to look into it. Sweet. Good. Thanks for doing that, something. Okay, well, these 3 people are on the basketball team. And my niece made the basketball team. Here's the deal. I've worn a mask. I've quarantined, like most of you, since this thing started with my 86-year-old grandmother. We lived together. And we've been very, very careful. She's got underlying conditions. She's asthmatic. She's lucid. She's 100% like independent and stuff. She's 86. And she has underlying conditions, so it would be bad.
Appreciate your help on this.
So we've been really careful. And that's another reason we homeschooled. We got people working on the front lines in our life. Both my brother and sister are on the front lines of this thing. We have someone who is vulnerable. Well, the school, I don't feel like is taking the virus very seriously. Yes, they will. I should have read the letter. I'm doing this primarily for the story, and here I am telling the story of my life on the soapbox today. 3 girls on the basketball team got it. But what happened today is we kept my niece separate from us. We were going to quarantine her for 2 weeks away from Grandma, just as a precaution, even though my niece was 100% exposed to these 3 girls because they're all members of the basketball team for over 15 minutes without a mask. And so that seemed fine, but at the same time, it kind of doesn't make sense because we're already homeschooling the other 2 anyway. And they would obviously be in contact with their sister, so it's weird. Either way, this is the larger point. There's basketball practice today, and I don't like... I was pretty pissed. I had to take her to basketball practice. That's not a big deal. That's fine. It's the idea that 100% they know that 3 girls on the basketball team got the virus. And so, obviously, that 1 turned into 3, and we all know how the virus works. It's an exponential curve. 1 becomes 3, 3 becomes 9, becomes 18, becomes 80. You know, it just explodes. And so, clearly that 1 kid, spot cleaning, just didn't work. It spread. And these kids aren't really sick. They're all asymptomatic, like most younger kids apparently are. But, which is apparently genetic, but they don't entirely know, and I'm not going to even speculate, because that's obviously, not my job. I don't think there should be basketball practice. I don't think there should have been basketball practice for at least a week. I think that they could have easily gotten home workouts and quarantined the girls' basketball team, shut down the school until Monday, deep clean the sucker, no basketball practice for 1 week. You can do your workouts from home and make sure everything's settled, and then we'll get back to normal again, and we'll keep living life, because we do have to keep living life. We do have to learn how to live with the virus to the extent that we can while taking precautions. But it's like zero. I feel like zero concern. And that is, man, it just really frustrates me. And this isn't some big, like, oh, it's the federal government, it's a Senate, the Congress, the president. It's local government. The CDC, Fauci put out guidelines, It's just up to us to follow it. There's a 10th Amendment. They can only do so much. There's a separation of powers. And our area decided, you know what? We're just gonna, I guess, herd immunity it. And it's weird because everybody wears a mask and stuff because that's the mandate in our state. But I don't understand having practice. It's freaking freshman girls basketball. You can quarantine for a week. You can quarantine for a week. I wish you could get in that church and see that Easter egg. That's pretty much my thing. I was pissed, though. I was really, really wound up today because of that. Especially because we've been so careful, so very careful with my grandma. And we were going to quarantine my niece. Again, it kind of doesn't make sense because they're already kind of not quarantined because the cousin two are here. But I had to take her to practice. So we both wore a mask, and I put her in the back seat and tried to isolate as much as we can. Both of us wearing masks and kind of distance. It should be okay. I still just feel like, why are we doing practice? If 3 girls on the team got it, and the whole team was practicing around them, shouldn't we shut the shit down for just a little bit at least? I'm not saying cancel the season. I'm saying take a week. Take a week to contact trace, see where everybody's at, see who all's got the virus, oh, I need a safe house. See who all's been exposed, and then we'll get back, we'll get back to it once everybody's safe and everybody's in isolation and contained it, and then we'll get back. You don't have to cancel it, but just take some precautions.
Sounds like we're alone.
But we're just, I guess, saying, hell with it. Just, just go for it. We gotta play freshman girls basketball. It's important. And it is kind of important, but it's not more important than other things, too. Not more important than, say, health, your parents' health, potentially. I know that the fatality rate of the virus is like 0.002%. I don't think, personally, my opinion is we shouldn't do another lockdown. The economic costs are far too great. The societal costs are far too great. And ultimately, we're much more in control of the virus than what we were 10 months ago. But we're not done with this either, right? It's not over with. It's still going on. It's still spreading. And people are still getting sick and people are still dying. So we have to continue to take precautions, is my take. We have to find that middle ground where we don't pretend like nothing's happening on the local level. We still have to Like Halloween. I thought Halloween was good. We still did trick or treat, even though the police were like, "Yeah, I kind of don't want you to do it, but you can if you do X, Y, and Z." People showed up. We socially distanced. People wore a mask. We put the candy bowl out 12 feet away from the house. Everybody wore a mask. It was no big deal. It was no big deal, and it was good because people got to get out, say hello to one another, be social. Humans are social animals. Say hello to their neighbors, be human for a little bit, keep people mentally, psychologically healthy. Please check out Ashton. He's a Marine. He's a good guy. He's got a good, funny, dry wit. He's really good at strategy, military strategy, team-based games, shooter games. Smart guy, Marine. Make sure you check him out. Shoot the Reaper! What up, Ashton? Thanks for being here. Stop thinking. Stop using your brain. Thank you, Ashton. I hope you're well, man. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you. I was wound, though. So I ran into my grandma like I do. In pure frustration. I'm glad my sister's doing homeschooling. You know, we've adjusted, and it keeps the kids safe, and it keeps the family safe. And we can do it. And it's just for a year anyway. And, you know, we really, I feel like, needed to anyway. Because, again, my brother works IT at the hospital. He does 45, 50-hour weeks. He is on the front line. We should be able to get bloater samples from moment one, and it frustrates me that we... Oh, fucking burst was on. Rips. Sucks. Anyway. And my sister, again, is a nurse. And a lot of people are really good. You'd be surprised. People can be good. And it's usually the people you don't expect. You know, you think some rubes out in the back hills are going to be the ones that are, like, non-compliant, right? It often isn't. It's often them that are the most concerned. They're like, oh, man, you know, how sick am I going to be? Who was I around? I don't want to get anybody else sick. Yeah, 100% I want to listen to you. And then it's kind of the more uppity folks, which I don't hold any grudge for their money, but it's strange that you know, normally what we do, our assumption is, you know, must be educated. You know, they've got a hold of a little something. They're probably the educated ones. Well, they're like apparently about the largest group. And I don't want to overextend what I'm saying because of HIPAA and my sister's job. So what I'm saying is generally just public knowledge. But they're just, you know, it's like either it's the revelation. The risen Lord is upon us, and this is the sign. Oh shit, he's sick. This is the sign of the Antichrist, the mark of the beast. It's a plot by the government to control us. You know, and that goes beyond red team, blue team. That's like straight up, the government is a cabal led by... I just feel like there's been a breakdown on some level. On some level, there's been a breakdown. And it's hard to explain because I think it's happened at the very edges of our society, but... in the disillusionment of trust, there came the collapse of certain cultural standards. Not across the board, it's not a total collapse, but there is this sort of... In the midst of the pandemic, I think, and it goes deeper than anything, like, oh, you know, it's the government or something. I just think it's part of what's happened with the isolation, the pandemic. I think it'll pass, though. I think this guy's in trouble, though, too. Now I'm being pretty vague. Anyway. Rates are exploding across the Midwest. South Dakota's like ground zero, with North not far behind. My ignorance takes equal consideration to your expertise. Social media. You think social media has led to this, Maltroff? Well, you know, one of the things that we had to do in college is take a rhetoric class. I took communications in college with an emphasis on digital media. But one of the big things, but I was in Scripps College of Communication, which is a pretty good school at Ohio University. And we have to take a lot of base classes because, you know, liberal education, yada, yada, yada. And that's just about having a real wide base across a bunch of stuff. So I took a lot of media criticism classes, which is one of the reasons I go on, you know, tangents about the media being biased. Because it is biased, but it's always been biased. There's always an angle of attack, but it is a very real thing. And it's because it's a private press and they want to make money. And so, you know, the country burns, but the ratings are great. And that happens across the political spectrum. but there's always an angle of attack, and if you take any kind of media criticism classes, you can it's really apparent. A great film, you don't have to pay $50,000 to take college classes on it. Just watch them film from, I think it's like the 80s, late 80s, The Network. I don't know when it came out. It won the Oscars. We used to have it as our speech. I think we still do, you know? Once you open your window and say, I'm not going to take it anymore. I'm a human being, god damn it. My life has value and meaning and so on. It's, the plague is here. Oh, so we're going to have a rain. Oh, shit. Well, this will get us hero bonus. Let's get over there real quick. A minute to get over there? Maybe. Speedrun skills, let's go. I do think it has played a part. Well, certainly it's played a part. But that is obviously another issue that's real. That's one where we talked about like last week. I 100%, wherever you fall on that debate, I think that's all going to come to a head. That's all going to come to the head, to a head in the next year. On how social media operates in the 21st century. Do we, is it basically, you know, with the United States, unique. It's the state under law. It's the state under the Constitution. Instead of the state is the law. So does the Constitution take precedent regardless? Or do these social media sites embrace the, you know, is this more of a free market thing and the social media sites are going to get to decide what's their TOS and what's not? And what is the long-term effects of either of those things happening? But ultimately, it's like that, you know, NBC, or not NBC, but PBS is always like, a democracy takes an educated citizenry and so on and so forth. Yeah, I think that's pretty much where we're at. I mean, I think a lot of this shit could just go away if people just knew better in many cases. It's weird, dude. I used to feel like I had a pretty good grasp on like where the truth was pretty much at, but... And I still feel relatively confident, but it's just gotten to be so murky. It's weird. You're probably right, though, I'm sure. I think it's a big combination of many, many, many things. But more importantly, for my life and outside of any politics, because I'm sure we don't want to talk about that shit with just a few days to go. This virus, I don't think they should be, oh shit, there's somebody dead here. Who died? What? How did Keisha die? How did Keisha die? Well, damn it. I don't think we can get the achievement now. How did Keisha die? You kidding me? What happened while we were gone? I've never seen this happen before. This kind of breakdown. Speaking of breakdown, we were driving back to the damn base. And she got the Rona, no shit. Anyway, it's just, this is craziness. Anyway, they're at practice. They're at practice. And you wouldn't think 10 months in, it's like, yeah, well, we got to get her to practice, so let's take the risk. And I know 100% my sister would not take that risk. None of the family wants to take that risk. That's why we've lived the way we've lived. You're not the one who's sick. Dude, I don't know what we're going to do. That achievement is now... Well, yeah, she deserved better. How did this happen? We got back to the base in time. It took us less than a minute. I'm disappointed. Well, anyway, see, I did. Season 7 trailer. I watched most of it anyway. Are you excited for it, Ashton? We only have a week, by the way. If you did Season 6, we only have a week.
What a load of bull.
It is your fucking fault, Ray.
We'll find somewhere nearby to live for the time being.
Oh, fuck off. I don't care that we've already lost out on the achievement. It is their fault the zombies are here. Keisha's dead because of it. I mean, this story doesn't really pull the heartstrings or anything. I just think that's bullshit.
I'm gonna step out. Radio if you need.
this new difficulty is 100% going to be pure blood plague all the time, which does actually make things significantly difficult. That girl looks like BS in a handbag. Anthem news out here too. Oh yeah, what's the Anthem news? Start over. You gotta want it. Ugh. Nah, we'll just finish it. It does suck though. I'll do it off stream. I'll finish it. Episode whatever this is just a rant. But I'm fine with the rant. I'm pissed about that though. I'm sure we just lost out on Ray, but again, I don't care. I feel like the game dicked us right there. Okay, cool, sweet. I'll read that in a little bit here, Maltroff. Probably when I break for dinner, when I come back, I'll read it. You know, ultimately, like I said, I'm not talking about, I don't think anybody here wants me to go into it, and I'll avoid it. But it is simple, right? Civic responsibility isn't complicated. Go vote, get a flu shot, wear a mask, social distance. That's all we gotta do for a little while longer. Until the vaccine's here, and probably just a little bit after that. You know, probably another 8 months. Realistically, probably another 8 months. That's us doing our part, though. We do those things. Vote, you get your flu shot, you wear your mask, you socially distance. Be good to your neighbor. Now, hey, we're all in this together. And this stuff isn't hard to do. But what happens is, it's the government, it's a plandemic. You know, the religious crowd, I can forgive more. Because it's faith, and I know, and so I feel like you gotta be tolerant to that. It's really, truly what they believe. So long as they do the same thing, mask, social distance, whatever. You wanna believe this is the apocalypse? Fine. Maybe you're taking it more serious than the people who think that this is like from George Soros or some shit. Is that what it's like out there? Not all the way. It's like that everywhere. No, like, there's America, you know, to me is a great country, and there's 99% of the country is good people who do right. But there's just always that 1% across the board who just is a dick and wants to be difficult. No, it's not like that. Like, specifically here, it's just that attitude is everywhere. It's here, of course, it's here. But I've traveled during this across my state, and I know that it's everywhere. The feelings on both ways. And I just wish that this could have been... It's a pandemic, we're in this together, let's work together as a country. You know, World War II, good lord, they defeated the Nazis and the Japanese Empire. The whole country worked together and had victory gardens and scrap drives, and we saved democracy and the Western societies. Like, this shouldn't be that big of a deal. It is a big deal. I'm not saying that. Of course it's a big deal. Just the things that we have to do our part are not that big of a deal. Is what I'm saying. In my opinion.
Oh man, it's a screamer.
But again, I freaking, you know, play video games for the majority of my time in a day. My life is different. It's probably easy for me, but, you know, it's a lot more difficult for other people, and I think there's some point in being empathetic to that. I know, like, I don't know who, I can't remember who it was, but he came in our stream, and he said he couldn't wear a mask because it made him really anxious. There's stuff like that going on, I know. I also think the mask can be taken too far. Like, common sense. If you're in your car alone driving down the highway, you don't need to wear a mask. You're fine. If you're socially distanced even, the mask is fine. Not wearing it. You know, there's like, I saw a guy in I didn't see him actually, but my nephew described a guy that he saw when they were in IKEA, and he was wearing full PPE. He had the gas mask on, the whole 9 yards. He wasn't like compromised. He was in like looked like he was in good shape. How they described him. No, and hey, whatever, you do you, but you see this huge variety of responses to it. Like, I haven't shaken my brother's hand or hugged my sister since the start. And I don't want to just tell a story of woe. Everybody's in this together. When I listen to tax season, he's like, oh, yeah, I really had to sacrifice. Dude, fuck off. Everybody's had to sacrifice this year. Everybody. This is not a woe is me situation. This is woe is the world. That's my take on that. But, I had a guy I knew in high school, and he was like having a party, and this was back in June when, you know, the situation still felt really intense. It's intense now, but again, we know more. And he like came up and shook my hand, and I wanted to shake his hand, and he was real pissed about it. It's like, what's wrong with you? Why are you scared? And I was like, I'm not afraid. I'm cautious. You know, like this. Just not everybody's on the same page.
Loading my final mag now.
Oh, Imgur. Okay, let me pull this link up. In the 2001 Battle Royale, Kane wore a mask for 54 minutes and eliminated 11 people. You can wear a mask to hold E. I think that's just fun for some people. What, wearing the... Is that what it's like out there? I don't see the religious angle here as much. Mostly just the freedom crowd here. Wow, $5. Wonder why. It's still a good game. Borderlands doesn't deserve the Anthem treatment. It's not a bad game. That's weird, but that's a hell of a deal. Christmas for the kids right there. I'm thinking of more than myself. Should just do the show Soul Touch. What do you mean, Ashton? Associate Nick would be interesting in looking into. Yeah, if someone has the money and wants to make a full documentary, go for it. But I think my take on that is it's the extended effect of isolation. You know, when you don't have to have your bullshit checked by the public circle, okay, like my grandma. My grandma is a great listener, and she's a really smart lady. And so when I talk, she mostly just says, yeah, okay. You know, she just lets me talk. And so I go away from that feeling pretty good about myself. And then I'll go on a rant here, or I'll go on a rant with my siblings, and I get a lot of pushback. And so then I have to adjust some of my feelings and grievances and so on. But if I only ever just talk to grandma, I would think my shit doesn't stink. And, you know, she does push back on me sometimes, but she mostly, you know, she's just being a nice grandma and she's just listening to me. And, I feel like what happens is you get locked in a bubble. You don't have to hear, like, it's always healthy for me to talk to Ashton. I get pushback. You have to hear another side. You have to hear another perspective. Not in an argumentative way, but just to broaden the view. And if you're locked in a bubble for X amount of time and you only ever hear, like, confirmation of what you believe, then I think it has an effect. And then when you get out into the wider world and it's like, oh, by the way, this was not like, you know, a pandemic so that the government could control your brain or whatever, like fluoride in the water. I don't want to hear it. Like, no, my buddy Joe thinks that and Susie thinks that. We're all on Facebook talking about it. And we know it. It's confirmation bias, right? I think that's why, again, I don't think there should be another lockdown. I think we have to take precautions, but don't do another lockdown. There's a society. There's too many issues. Too many consequences to it. It's not worth the cost. Shoe Soul. Screw my phone. That's social media in a nutshell. It definitely can be. But I don't. It's weird though, because I think one of the biggest things that this has been my lesson in the last like 6 months.
Take the headshot.
I used to get really upset at Twitter. I still can, but. And what I thought about is like, well, why am I following any of these people that upset me? There's a number of just like people that I think are just lunatics on Twitter. And
Looks like we're in the clear.
it dawned on me, you don't have to follow them. You can just mute them. So I started muting it. Now I just get like the stuff that I like and agree with, which of course is playing into what you're talking about, Maltroff. But it's also a lot more positive for me personally. You know, it's mostly like video game news and it's just technology in a nutshell. It's supposed to make our life easier and help us. And oftentimes it can become a burden. It's like the whole saying that you don't own your things, they end up owning you. There's a lot of good in the technology of social media. There's a lot of bad too. I think we're gonna eventually reach a healthier point with it, like all things. Like we talked about, you know, like don't support the war, support the troops, and that seems so obvious in hindsight, but yet it took Vietnam to realize that, and maybe whatever the hell's going on in the society and the country right now, it's gonna be, this is the thing that makes us readjust.
More of the same.
Like staying in contact with your aunt, your uncle who live across the country and you love, and maybe some of your best friends in high school is a good thing on social media. Maybe
Enough pockets for that.
having your mind warped that this is a pandemic is a not so positive, is a bad development in social media. Or like, I remember my ex, we were together 7 years, we had a long-term relationship, right? We both deleted Facebook, and I've never gone back to Facebook, thank God. I couldn't stand it, but the reason we both agreed to delete it was because of a very stupid thing. We would get in these fights over like, I saw what you posted today. And it dawned on both of us, did we lose even more people? Okay, Keisha's stone is back there. That had no bearing on reality. We were fighting over spurious things. Oh, I see you like Jennifer's post, or oh, you like Tom's post or something. We both just got rid of it, and then that whole reality, that whole like stub of reality ceases to exist. That's to me the stupidest thing about like Facebook in general is there's a sort of quasi-reality there that isn't real. You didn't have to say anything to anybody's face. You didn't have to argue it in the,
Running out of steam.
with other human beings. And those people who are apparently social media famous, my ex roomed with somebody who was an Instagram star, was like actually famous. And apparently they were the most stolid, empty people. They just lived to photograph themselves, but their real personality was non-existent. It's like those people who, you know, when things got really intense in the summer with the protests, and you saw those people like show up just to take photos so that they could get some clout. It just felt so like almost dystopian to see that. You got a bunch of people in the streets that feel very, very strongly about a certain thing. And that's going to work its way through the Republic, and we're going to face consequences for that. But then there's this third element where it's like, this isn't even real. It's not even real. Not even real. It's just a thing you can get your photo taken at. I've been off it for around, yeah, well, I think you made the right choice, Maltroff, personally. Checks and balances, gotta have the opposite side to come together and find common ground and move forward. I agree with you, Ashton. I think you're right. I think that's well said. Only time I wore a gas mask, it was a bong. Heyo, let's put that in the quotes. You know, and I try not to be too much of a fence sitter, because that's Boogie's thing. Boogie is a nice guy. If you ever want to know what that book, No More Mr. Nice Guy, is about, just look at Boogie. Boogie is a nice guy, and by the way, nice guys aren't so nice. They're super passive aggressive. They manipulate people. It's all fake. It makes you. They always want to fix people. Basically, their life goes to shit, and then they blame other people for it. You know, obviously, I have opinions on things. I've been trying to be more quiet about the more specific things and more about, like, you know, we talk about social media, we've been talking about the world politics, we've been talking about the virus, so I'll try to keep continuing to do that. In the case of the religious element, I grew up in a religious family. I still consider myself Christian. I've talked about that before. I do. You know, that's what I identify as. But it's a private thing, it's a personal thing, yada, yada, yada. But one side of my family was very religious. And I never saw anything wrong in it, it just wasn't my thing. You know, like, to be that religious. And I'm talking like Billy Graham, evangelical, so on. And they're good people. They're good people. They mean well. And they are genuine and earnest in their feeling. And so, basically, that group sees everything through a religious lens. They think that everything... It's kind of like a death cult, to be real with you. They want the end times to come, because that means Jesus comes back. And Jesus is God, and Jesus is their Savior, and Jesus is Lord. And so, the only way they can get to their God, to the Savior, is for the end times to come. It's the only way they get united with Him. So ultimately, everything is, like, seen in that vein. Everything has to somehow correlate to that event. Because that's ultimately what we're, you know, building towards, is what they feel like. But see, my grandma doesn't feel that way. And I grew up in her church more, Methodist Lutheran. Which is like, you don't know the date, you don't know the time or the date, and it's mostly figurative. It's almost all figurative language, the Bible. You know, it's man's translation of God's word, so therefore it's imperfect just by its very nature. Like, yeah, Jesus was the Son of God. He's the Savior. Someday there's going to be a revelation, but we have no idea when it's going to come, and you want to hope you're not here when it comes. But definitely don't call it forward. That's what ISIL was all about. ISIS wanted the end times. That's why they mounted up all their armor on that hill, the hill of Armageddon, hoping to meet us, what they saw as the great Christian power. And I'm going on a bit of a rant, but point is that they would be, you know, that Pat Robertson guy. That Pat Robertson guy said that, you know, this is it. This is the end times. And he's predicted like that 15 or so times. And you probably already know this, but they think that it all starts off with a rapture. The ones who believe in it, like, literally. It all starts off with a rapture, and that's when all the Christians... Oh, here it is. Here's that weapon crate. All the Christians who, like, truly believe in God and yada, 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 and their soul has been saved. And I was around this stuff as a kid, a ton. They all immediately, spontaneously get to go to heaven. Of course, there's tons of holes in the whole thing. Like, what about all the people who were around on the earth before there was a Jesus? What about all the people who prayed to the sun? What about all the people who prayed to all the many different gods? You know, Zeus, so on. What about all the pagans? Like, did all these people get banished to hell? We all know that there's a million holes you can poke in religion. There's been good with religion, there's been bad with religion. And the point is, they operate by faith, though. And faith means that that's just what they believe, no matter what, in the face of overwhelming evidence or any odds against them. Their conclusion is still drawn on their faith. And I think they have a right to that. It's just that sometimes... it can not be healthy. Not be healthy. The shop's overrun. Well, I don't feel bad for him, but I'll get out there just for the sake of it. So somehow this ties into Revelations, and I've read Revelations. I'm not too sure why they think this ties into Revelations. They think that there's the element is that Samson or the big king who was the builder that the God, they've got like a secret society. George Washington was a member of them. The Masons, the stonemasons. Their hero is the religious figure that built the cities. Yeah, the Masons. Good job, Maltroff. And he apparently dealt with, he built that great city, and he was supposed to be a super wise leader, and God loved him and chose him to be a leader. And he built a city, even though it was besieged, and was able to hold the city together by building a wall. Anyway, apparently there was a virus in the Bible, in that story, and he quarantined the people, and he was able to stop the spread and save them. And they talk about that a lot, like that. This is a biblical story replaying itself for all of us. It's a warning sign, basically, is what they take this as. It's a big warning sign because a biblical story is replaying itself in our modern society, and therefore it can't be much longer now. Can't be much longer. And then there's supposed to be some great event that occurs, and you'll know it by the sign of the beast, and all the world is supposed to be under some international government, and the Tower of Babel repeats itself, which is when everybody spoke the same language, and God got pissed about it and went in and scattered everybody around. Anyway, you'll have one currency, one government, the Tower of Babel will reform, and then you have this leader show up in the chaos of this, and you hear it all the time, the proverbial wolf in sheep's clothing. Let's go clear this farm mouse out to Santos. And they'll lead us through the 7 best years that all of humanity has ever known. There'll be amazing progress. It'll seem like heaven on earth. It's amazing. He seems like a savior. Then, of course, the savior is revealed to be the Antichrist. And then the 7 worst years in human society play out. And they are...
That's not good.
And what has happened is in the 7 good years, we've lost our way. There's only, I think it's 5 churches left. 5 Christian churches left. They're all small, and they all commit a certain cardinal sin. And this is the 7 seals, which the Saint Davidians believed in, that there's supposed to be 7 events, the most mysterious of which being the 7th, that will occur that signal the end times, that make you know for sure that it's on now. He's here, Antichrist is here, Jesus is here. If you want a really easy way to know the lore of Revelations, watch the Netflix show Messiah. It's really well made and basically shows all the events that's in the book of Revelations on how they're, more or less, most people interpret it to happen. But of course, depending on your sect, it's different. Like, if you're a Catholic, it's a very different thing than the evangelicals, and yada, yada, yada. The point is, they mostly think that this is just a sign from God that it's coming. Any day now. Better be saved. You better be ready, because there is going to be a rapture very soon. Obviously, I do not think that that is occurring. But, it's interesting. Fun to think about, maybe. No, I mean, like I say, I do identify, I already said my religion, but the way that the Methodists conducted themselves was a lot different than the evangelicals. Like, everything was really, really relaxed in the church I was brought up in. But whenever I would go over to the evangelical side of stuff, I felt very uncomfortable. Really uncomfortable. I was put into their camps as a kid and stuff, and again, they mean well because they think they believe that they're saving your soul. But all I saw was you know, it felt like a cult. Brainwashing, a lot of fear, a lot of indoctrination. You know, don't ask questions is like the big thing. And I think most of us feel uncomfortable with environments like that, where you're just supposed to accept what they say. You know, do as I say, not as I do. We used to have to spend a week out at those damn places in the summer. They called it Super Kids. This girl's oh, she is supposed to be a member of this. I'm like not managing to save anybody though. Probably because I'm ranting about all the things that I find important today. I used to go to Bible school and stuff also. Did you like it? Did you feel okay with it? Like, I've gone to Bible schools. I've talked about this on stream quite a bit. But the Methodist Church, literally what we did is Sunday we'd go to church. And our pastor at the time, we had a good pastor. His name was David. David was a lawyer. He wasn't a religious man for most of his life, but he became religious because his kids got into it. And then he went to the seminary. And I don't know why there's like dark music playing. All right, well, she comes back later, don't worry. At least we won't turn her away from the community. And we do anyway. You show up at 10:30. You were out by 11:30. Oh hell yeah, we got a 50 cal. That's exactly what we needed. That's exactly what we needed. You were out by 11:30. Once a month, we had a big potluck dinner, and like most people would bring, you know, some food, and we'd all eat a dinner together as a community. And so you kind of had that public community being entrenched in your own community thing, and that was good. That was healthy, I thought. That's... Are you actually sick? Because if you're actually sick, then we got a problem. No, you're not. We did... And those were open for the whole community, which was really good. We had homeless people come, and we'd feed them, and we'd have people that were down on their luck. We'd feed them, give them a free meal. And David... It was just simple. You do a Bible lesson, you talk about it. It was all just very relaxed. And then when I would do the evangelical stuff on my mom's side of the family, they were like talking in tongues, rolling on the floor, you know, staring up into the headlights like they'd been overtaken by the Lord. And like, my grandma is old school. She's 86. She was raised religiously. She doesn't like that stuff either. All those antics and stuff. Because it's so clear people are faking it. There is zero chance you have been overtaken by the Lord. I mean, you get your jimmies out however you're going to get your jimmies out. But really? I probably have said something that people find terribly offensive. Maybe not this, you know, our community, but some people would. I know people that talked in tongues. They were nice people. When I worked at Kroger, we have a huge Mennonite community in Ohio. Hold on, I'll fix it. What the hell? We have a huge Mennonite community in Ohio. And they're really nice. Is that working? No, hold on. I forget how I used to do this. Well, stop recording here.